I'm a lifelong conservative, pro-Second Amendment, pro-Trump, pro-military, and pro-wall.
That's Kelly Loeffler, an unelected incumbent Republican senator from Georgia whose shady financial maneuverings and refusal to acknowledge the actual winner of the presidential election have made headlines nationwide. As Loeffler's re-election bid goes to a runoff against Democrat Raphael Warnock in January 2021, let's take a look at the career of a WNBA co-owner turned legislator on behalf of a state that did not vote for her. I'm Natalie Portman, and this is the story of Kelly Lynn Loeffler. She was born in Bloomington, Illinois in 1970. Bloomington is best known as the home of State Farm Insurance, or seemingly every other commercial on television. But it wouldn't take long for Loeffler to dominate the airwaves herself. She attended undergrad at the University of Illinois in Champaign, where she was a member of the Alpha Gamma Delta sorority. She went on to graduate from Chicago's DePaul University with an MBA in 1999. Out of school, Loeffler worked at Toyota for 4 years, where, according to her LinkedIn, she was a district account manager. From there, she hopped to Citibank, then to William Blair, an investment banking company, and then eventually to Intercontinental Exchange, or ICE, in 2002. According to the company's website, it builds, operates, and advances global markets through information technology and expertise, aka it owns financial and commodities exchanges, including the New York Stock Exchange. She quickly climbed the company ladder, securing a seat as a top lieutenant for the company's CEO, Jeff Sprecher. In 2004, Loeffler married that CEO and climbed the ladder again, taking over as head of marketing shortly after. While at ICE, Loeffler and Sprecher's company provided a platform for, as Mother Jones noted, highly speculative, unregulated energy trading that ended up causing an Enron-like scandal and costing residents of Georgia millions of dollars. In 2006, a giant hedge fund called Amaranth controlled up to 70% of the entire natural gas market on the New York Mercantile Exchange, aka NYMEX, an exchange regulated by the US government. And seeing red flags around Amaranth's strategy, namely high price volatility for natural gas, NYMEX was duty-bound to step in. NYMEX told Amaranth to reduce its natural gas positions. Amaranth agreed to do so, but what they really did was just shuffle the highly speculative natural gas transactions to an electronic energy exchange owned by Loeffler's firm, ICE. It just so happens that fine print in U.S. legislation lays electronic energy exchanges outside of U.S. government oversight. Loeffler and her cronies profited off the move at the expense of working people in Georgia. The Municipal Gas Authority of Georgia calculated that its 243,000 customers paid an extra $18 million in the winter of 06 and 07. In 2013, ICE bought the New York Stock Exchange for over $8 billion. Along the way, Loeffler bought a minority stake in the WNBA team, the Atlanta Dream, before becoming a full-time co-owner in 2011. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution notes why this is a particularly interesting venture for Loeffler of all people. The WNBA has a history of appealing to Black and LGBTQ fans, both groups far from Trump's base. Plus, the league has a reputation for supporting progressive causes, like a 2018 initiative that allowed fans to donate a portion of ticket sales to Planned Parenthood, an abortion rights group. This doesn't go unnoticed by Loeffler, though. She told AJC, "Frankly, I think Americans have been saddened by the politicization of sports because it is something that uniquely unites people. However, the senator from Georgia's idea of uniquely uniting people is far different." When she was eventually appointed to the Senate, Loeffler, who once called the Black Lives Matter movement a very divisive organization, gave a large portion of her Senate salary to anti-LGBTQ+ and anti-abortion groups. One of the organizations she donated to groups homosexuality with bestiality and incest as forms of sexual immorality. Seems divisive. But backing up a bit, in 2018, Loeffler left Intercontinental Exchange for a CEO position at an ICE subsidiary company called Bakkt, which according to Fortune magazine aims at democratizing cryptocurrencies. She must have been earning a pretty penny too. She and her husband made history in Atlanta for purchasing possibly the most expensive real estate ever in the city. According to Atlanta magazine, the $10.5 million mansion is modeled in the style of an old European estate, Descante, as it's called, is a stucco, steel, and limestone structure that boasts Versailles parquet in the dining room, a library with a secret passage to the living room, and a 19th century pool house from France. But their shopping spree didn't end with modest homes. Loeffler and her husband have donated $3.2 million to political committees, 3% of which went to Democrats. One of their biggest spending sprees went to a super PAC supporting Willard Mitt Romney. The couple coughed up $750,000 in support of the senator from Utah. But just giving exorbitant amounts of money to candidates wouldn't be enough for Loeffler. In 2019, she applied to succeed incumbent Senator Johnny Isakson, who resigned from the post citing health reasons. Although Loeffler wasn't Trump's first choice, he wanted Doug Collins. She was tapped by Georgia Governor Brian Kemp for the position, where she's been serving the American people ever since. It's unclear if they want to be served by her, considering she's now in a runoff election, but nonetheless, she is Georgia's first female senator in 98 years.
I'm proud to announce that conservative businesswoman and political outsider Kelly Loeffler will be Georgia's next U.S. Senator.
CNBC notes Loeffler is by far the richest member of Congress, sharing a net worth of about $500 million. And boy, would she use it. A novel coronavirus ignited an outbreak of a deadly disease called COVID-19 in China in December of 2019. The disease spread quickly, with the first case in the U.S. occurring the following month. By March of 2020, the COVID-19 outbreak was in its nascent stage, just beginning to take hold in the U.S. Then in early 2020, Loeffler and her colleagues sat through some closed-door meetings. Right after those meetings, Loeffler sold a bunch of stocks, a whole bunch. Directly before the market took a nosedive, she sold, in total, stocks valued up to $18.7 million. That's $18.7 million. She dumped her retail stocks and bought shares in DuPont, which produces medical supplies. Instead of warning the American people after getting vital information, she offloaded millions in stocks and then publicly said this.
The good news is the consumer is strong, the economy is strong, jobs are growing. Our president has done a fantastic job making sure that we're in the best position to manage through this situation.
However, Loeffler claims the sales were completely out of her hands. She claims the transactions were carried out by her and her husband's financial advisor without their knowledge.
You sold over $1 million in stocks in your own personal portfolio before the market went down. Were you trading on inside information about what was coming?
Well, I'm really glad you asked, Ed, because I do want to set the record straight. I've seen some of those stories, and it's absolutely false, and it could not be true. So if you actually look at the personal transaction reports that were filed, it notices at the bottom that I'm only informed of my transactions after they occur, several weeks.
As Loeffler cashed in while hundreds of thousands of Americans died, she launched a re-election bid. The race between Loeffler and Democrat Raphael Warnock was so tight it triggered an automatic runoff for January 2021, meaning the Senate majority hangs in the balance of two races in Georgia, Loeffler and Warnock, and Republican David Perdue, who also sold off a bunch of stock after closed-door briefings about the coronavirus, and Democrat Jon Ossoff. These two races will decide which party controls the Senate and gains the power to shape Joe Biden's agenda. Loeffler has an uphill battle to her re-election. Early polls suggest Warnock has the edge. He also has most of the WNBA on his side, including players from the team Loeffler co-owns. Loeffler and Perdue have since called for Georgia's Republican Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger's resignation, citing, without evidence, failures in the election. It's unclear if they're referring to their own campaigns or to the democratic process. Whatever the case may be, control of the Senate hangs on two people who have shown they're willing to put their own bank accounts before the American people.
Hey, thanks for watching Who Is? Did you know we have a podcast now too? On Who Is, the podcast, I'll dive deep into the fascinating lives of the people who run things, whose decisions impact every aspect of our lives. How did they get where they are today? And knowing that, what might they do next? From politicians to the ultra-rich, to military contractors and monarchs and media moguls, I'll introduce you to the reporters and experts who know these real-life world molders best. Sharp-eyed observers and confidants who observe our subjects as they make the decisions that define our everyday lives. To see more, hit the link or search Who Is on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. And for more of the video series you know and love, be sure to check out the Snapchat versions and our series playlists on YouTube and Facebook.